Hey there, welcome to the DFS Build NBA edition. I'm Kevin Roberts going solo today for the two-game NBA slate over at DraftKings. The goal here is to help you win. I'm going to break down each position, go over my strategy, my favorite plays, and of course, if you want finalized core plays for the slate, you can head over to our Patreon, just $5.99 for the entire month to get all the NBA plays, all the UFL plays, all the MMA plays, and our MLB DFS picks and stacks. By the way, MMA for the third week in a row went 3-0 on the core. So we are feeling it in MMA. I just got to get the GPP plays right because I had a couple, but I took a chance on Fig. I was way over on Figueroa, and it didn't work out. Point is, you're here for NBA, and we're giving supreme value here, $5.99 for not just our picks, but also our Discord, which is a nice, growing, engaging community with just tons of people who just want to help each other win. And we even have had some nice wins in there lately, too. So definitely be sure to take advantage of that. If you're here just for free videos, we give out videos for MLB and NBA and NFL regularly. So definitely be sure to subscribe to get those and throw a bone back to by hitting the like button on this video. All right, let's get into it here. Position by position, up top, SGA at point guard. He is way too cheap. 9.5K coming up against the Nuggets. They're not a tough matchup at all. James Harden would say otherwise, but they're not. They're not really a tough matchup. This game is in OKC. The Thunder are 9.5-point favorites, as they should be, as the number one team in the West. There's a little bit of blowout risk here. There's always the whole, the team comes in and surprises with the first game. That's always possible. We're not going to play those narratives. We're just going to play the best plays. And right now, SGA looks dollar for dollar like the best stud on the entire slate. Jokic is still 2,000 more than him. I just don't see the upside in paying for Jokic on this slate. I do think he's interesting based on the fact that he's probably not going to be that owned on a two-game slate. But right now, SGA looks like a major priority in terms of spending money. And he just looks really good. 9.5K for him. I have no qualms, paying for that. I highly doubt he's had any issues with this matchup on the year. Let me just double check. Yeah, he's averaged 51.9 fantasy points per game across 4 meetings with Denver. It's just not a tough matchup at all. Obviously, the playoffs do change things to a certain degree, but I'm just not worried about it. 9.5 is way too cheap, so I like him a lot. Next up is Jalen Brunson. He projects okay. 8.5K is a fair price, but it's also kind of like an appropriate price. He's been crushing, no doubt about it. Monster 30+% usage rate in every game, I'm pretty sure, in the first round series. 29.55% in the game 6 there. Not a good matchup with Detroit, and he still responded really well with 30+ real points in every game but one. So, and 40 points in the game winner in the last game. So, Brunson is definitely coming in hot for the playoffs. He's ready to rock. I could totally see the Knicks coming into TD Garden and upsetting them in the first game. Again, I'm not going to play the narratives here. I think relative to the slate and the other options available, I think Brunson is finely priced and totally in play, but he's not a major discount like somebody like SGA. I would rather go pay $1,000 more and get SGA on the slate. Brunson's fine. I think he's appealing to the fact that the matchup and the 9-point spread and other guys out there are going to make him low owned. 18%. That is appealing for tournaments. I might consider going a little bit overweight, but the reality is he just doesn't stand out to me. So cue the 50-point real game, right? 50 real point game. But just really, you just got to go with the guys that make the most sense. And then when you're doing that, kind of look at ownership and see what you can do to kind of mess with it. I mean, look at last night. Previous two slates were don't play Buddy Hield, and he sucked. And then last night, we didn't put out a video or anything, but we weren't on Buddy Hield because we were kind of worried that he might lose minutes because he'd been horrible. And then he comes out and has a career night. Pretty sure he had career high playoff points. So classic NBA DFS. But based off of ownership alone, Brunson is an interesting play for GPPs, just not a priority right now for me. Jamal Murray, $1,000 cheaper. He feels like a better play. He's going to be almost double the ownership. So that would be the reason to go away from Jamal Murray. Plus the matchup with OKC is not very friendly. But playoff Jamal has arrived. He has had some monster games in these playoffs so far. He was very quiet, but wasn't really needed in the last game against the Clippers. Previous 2 games, he was on point, almost had a triple-double in Game 6. And in Game 5, he obviously showed up big with 43 points, 43 real points. He's been okay on the season against OKC, but nothing earth-shattering. I think at 7.5K, Coming in less owned than SGA. I think he's okay. I just don't think he's a guy that stands out for me. I think Derek White at $1,000 cheaper might be a better play. Half his owned. Projection isn't that far away. Better matchup. Drew Holiday is expected back here, so there's that. He's going to cut into them a little bit, but Derek White was like at 7.2 or something. So the fact that his price has come down to a much more palatable 6.5, I don't mind getting to Derek White, just not. He's also not a priority for me. So right now, when we're talking about the expensive point guards, I really just have eyes for SGA, and I want to go get him and perhaps another stud I'll talk about in a little bit. If you want to come down to a lesser owned Brunson, I think that's okay. I just don't think the $1,000 is really enough to convince me, nor the ownership. It's just whatever. I think SGA just has a monster ceiling compared to him. So that's where I'm at there. As far as value goes, Russell Westbrook looks amazing at 4.8K. He's going to push for 30 minutes in a close game. There is the revenge narrative facing his old Thunder team. Game 1, I could totally see him popping off and getting it going here. He's still an elite per minute guy. He's under 5K. Like that a lot. Obviously, the matchup sucks. The spread sucks. And Russ can definitely go out there and shoot like 1 for 10 and totally crater. But at 4.8K, I think, the risk is kind of baked in there. I'm not that worried about that. And it's just not a slate with a lot of really comfortable value. So at 4.8, Russ is standing out as my personal favorite value of the entire slate. The field is kind of with me there, like 29%, like he is going to be owned, but not nearly as owned as Alex Caruso, 76%. Now, I don't mind Caruso. 4K is not a lot to pay for a guy who has a role in a positive matchup. Denver is a pretty soft matchup. And in the previous series against Memphis, he played 22-plus minutes in 3 of the 4 games. It was a 4-game sweep, and he hit in 3 of those 4 games. So I'm not really that concerned of a blowout like in Game 1 against Memphis, where he only played 11 minutes. But I am concerned with the fact he's not a high-usage guy. So unless he gets a ton of defensive stats and definitely plays like 22 to 25 minutes, he might have a little difficult time getting there. So at 76%, I will absolutely come in underweight on Alex Caruso. Is he a don't get too cute play? I don't think so. I think he's fucking Alex Caruso. Like, he certainly can fail. And if that many people are going to be playing Alex Caruso, I will be very underweight. I think a really good pivot right off the bat is Russ. He's $800 more, so it's not like a direct price for price pivot. But like, I will gladly go way over on Russ and way under Caruso. That said, if you want to play Caruso, I don't blame you. Like I said, there's not a lot of really good value on this slate, and it is just 2 games. But so if you just want to click him, lock him in, and take all those savings, that's totally fine. I still will play Alex Caruso, just not as much as the field apparently is going to play him. Kason Wallace at 3.4K. Don't feel great about Kason Wallace. Like, I mean, he's okay. The minutes have been fine. Eventually, he is going to pop off and have a good game. I think he's a more compelling play than Caruso just because you're saving $600 and you're getting him at a fraction of the ownership. I think they're both guys who come in with pretty low floors, pretty low ceilings. So I think, kind of pivoting to him from Caruso is another angle we can definitely consider. Similar price point that I'm kind of interested in, and don't hate me for it. Peyton Pritchard, 4.5K. Drew Holiday is there at 5.5. Like, I'm not going to tell you not to play Drew Holiday because I feel like last year, every single time I was like, don't play Drew Holiday, he went nuts, which was super annoying. So first game back, I'm pretty sure he missed the rest of that series. Yeah, so first game back from his injury. He is a low usage guy. He's going to get big minutes, I guess, but since he hasn't been 100%, maybe not right away in the first game back, I'm a little hesitant to buy into Drew. He's going to be pretty busy and pretty tired chasing Jalen Brunson around all day. Foul trouble potential there too. I think Pritchard is a very interesting GPP play. Like, Drew isn't carrying ownership right now, so there's that too. Like, Drew's carrying even less ownership than Pritchard. But the $1,000 price discrepancy is appealing. A direct pivot from a chalky-ass Caruso to Pritchard is appealing. And Pritchard was horrendous against the Magic. Incredibly low usage for no real reason. He played 25 minutes in every game, and he just did not shoot the ball. So Orlando, obviously a slow team, a very good defensive team. They did some things there to stop Pritchard from going off. I will not be shocked whatsoever if Pritchard pops off immediately in this first game and just in general has a way better series against the Knicks, who are not as strong of a defensive team as Orlando is. So I love Pritchard right now because nobody's going to be on him. He's going to be sub 10% owned. And also the return of Drew is just going to help curb that ownership and potentially send some ownership to, in Drew's direction too. So if you want pivots away from Caruso, Russ, Kayson, Pritchard are the guys I like the most in the order of Russ, Pritchard, Kayson for me personally. All right, over to shooting guard we go. Jamal Murray leads the way for a really bad position. Jamal Murray's a rock-solid play. If you want to play with a point guard or shooting guard, don't have a problem with it. It's just not a good matchup. He's not going to possess a really, really good ceiling against like the best defensive team in the NBA. But he's only 7.5K. We know he does have a ceiling. If he pops off, he can pop off. I would envision he's going to struggle in this series and probably right away in the first game. So not really a guy I want to play into 30% ownership on. I don't mind meeting that ownership, but just not the guy I really want to pay for. I think Jaylen Brown at $500 less is a more appealing play. Slightly less owned, slightly worse projection, better matchup, and cheaper. I just think he's a better play. You can play either of them. You can play them both together. I just like that I can play Jaylen Brown at small forward as well. Christian Brown is one of the better lower mid-range plays. 5.3K for a guy we know is going to get a ton of minutes. Definitely lacks a ceiling in general, but he crushed in a tough matchup with the Clippers. Like 3 games of 36 plus fantasy points. That's pretty damn good. Not always the highest usage guy, but he's going to play a ton of minutes. He's a really good real life role player. Like he's going to knock down shots. He's going to play good defense. He's going to cut into the paint. Very aggressive. So for 5.3K, I like that quite a bit. He is going to be owned, and I don't really care that much just because I know he's going to play 38 minutes if the game stays close. And at 5.3, if he doesn't really crush, he's not really going to kill me. So it's not that big of a deal. Like the Caruso thing too. I like that, he's shooting guard eligible as well. Like if Caruso's 4K, if he comes out and gets like 15 or 18 fantasy points at 76% ownership, is that going to kill you? No, but I think there's enough wiggle room to go do something else. Like Russ could go get like 40 fantasy points. And if he does that and Caruso bombs, like that's just a massive edge, and I want to take advantage of that. Mikal Bridges projects horribly, and apparently he's bad. Kind of like Braun, like he's going to get those minutes. 44 minutes in the last game, 43 3 games ago. If he pops off as a scorer, he can get there. I'm just not super interested at 6K because I can go get basically the same play at Christian Brown at $700 less, and that's just what I'd prefer to do. You can use Pritchard or Kayson or Drew over at shooting guard if you'd like to. The only other guy I'd touch on is Lou Dort. I think that's a really good pivot off of Alex Caruso. I prefer him in the shooting guard spot as a pivot off of Caruso as opposed to Kayson. Like Kayson's cheap, so you can certainly take that dive at 3.4K. To a lesser extent, I guess you could do that with Isaiah Joe at 3.2. Don't feel super comfortable with those guys, though. Like Dort is going to be out there for most of the game for his defense. So if he can actually hit his shots at 4.2K, Lou Dort looks really, really appealing at a third of the ownership compared to Caruso. All right. Over to small forward. Jason Tatum is too cheap. Just flat out too cheap. Knicks are not that difficult of a matchup. He's had some big games against them. None of that really matters. He's 9K. He's a guy who's usually 10K. Boston's at full strength, so like usually that kind of just like evens out and like everybody eats. I don't think Tatum is like an absolute must if you want to do like a more balanced build and go get like prioritize SGA as your stud and then go get like there's just a lot of nice mid-range guys on the slate, which is weird because it's only 2 games. But I think if you pair them too, that's also palatable, especially if you go with the OKC value, if that's what you want to do. That right now is like the chalky way to go. So for me personally, I'm probably going to go a little bit underweight on Tatum and try to go more of like an SGA solo stud build. But if you want to pair SGA and Tatum or go Tatum over SGA, no issue with that whatsoever. Projects really well, and he's just way too cheap. The reason why I do not mind going away from Tatum, though, is guys like Jalen Williams and, of course, his own teammate Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown's 2K cheaper, and Jalen Williams is 1.7K cheaper and also power forward eligible, unlike Jaylen Brown. Jalen Williams is going to be really owned, but Jalen Williams projects extremely well. Denver is a soft matchup, and he just like grades out as a better value. Let's see, what's he looking like here? Against the Nuggets on the year in 4 games, 41 fantasy points per game. So it's not a matchup that he is going to find to be difficult whatsoever. So I love Jalen Williams. If I had to pick one guy at small forward to play, it would be Jalen Williams. But if you want to pay up for Tatum, I do not have a problem with that. If you want to hedge or leverage the Tatum ownership with a half his own Jaylen Brown for $2,000 cheaper. I don't mind that either. I just wouldn't be like super aggressive with that option. Josh Hart is an okay pivot off of Jaylen Brown or Jalen Williams, just not super into it. It's not a good matchup. It's on the road. OG Anunoby would be my preference there. I prefer him to Mikal Bridges. I prefer him to Josh Hart. If you can get up to him over Christian Brown without forcing it, I think he's the better play. But dollar for dollar, Christian Brown is the better small forward play when compared to OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges, I think. OG has a higher ceiling, though. So, like I said, and Brown's pretty chalky. So if you can get there, if you have the 800 extra and you don't know what to do, I would go OG over Christian Brown in that scenario. But the projection is very close. They both play a ton of minutes, and Brown saves you cash. So it's just, again, not value that I mind eating. I'm kind of out on MPJ. Like MPJ he had a horrible first round series. He had one like pretty good game, and the rest of the time he was just kind of like utter dog shit. He had game 2, 38 fantasy points, thanks to like 15 rebounds, and the rest of the series he was just MIA instead of MPJ. So not cool, Michael. Not cool. The nice thing with Michael Porter Jr., 2 things. Number 1, very cheap, 5.1K. 3 things actually. Number 1, very cheap. Number 2, not going to be owned. Number 3, he does have a ceiling. If he actually can hit his damn shots and score, he is good at rebounding for a small forward. He can get there. Problem is the floor is remarkably low, and he also is only small forward eligible. I think on the Nuggets right now, I kind of prefer everybody else as opposed to MPJ. I'll just circle back and say 13% ownership is interesting, though, for tournaments. I'd be a little bit over that. If I was rolling like 150 lineups or even 20 lineups, I would probably hit like 15%, 20% of MPJ, and maybe if he hits, then that helps out. Maybe that brings down your Christian Brown ownership a little bit, and evens out a little bit. That's okay. But if I had to just pick one, it's going to be Brown over MPJ, and I would like him to show some signs of life first. And then Lu Dort, I already said I liked him. So if you want to play Lu Dort at not insane ownership, 31% for 2 games slate, it's not nothing. But it ain't 76% like Caruso. All right, so at power forward, Jason Tatum leads the way. Love him. Just don't know if I'm personally going to get there as much as the field is. Jalen Williams is a guy I'd get to, even though he's chalky balls. Like, I don't care. I'm going to play Jalen Williams. I really like Chet. He's going to be maybe half as owned as Jalen Williams and Jason Tatum, depending how things shake out. Only 6.7K. That is really, really cheap considering the ceiling he possesses. He does sometimes have a low floor, but Chet is capable of dropping a 50 burger at any point. In 4 games against Denver, 36 fantasy points per game. Not bad. For 6'7", like he's worth going over, meeting the field at least, and maybe considering going overweight just because he does have a ceiling. Him versus Josh Hart, I'm going to go Chet just because I like that ceiling. Aaron Gordon for $1,000 less. I do like Aaron Gordon. He's going to be pretty chalky. Like, I don't mind going a little bit under on Aaron and trying to find the funds to go get to Chet instead, because Aaron Gordon does not have like the easiest matchup here, and also Chet just possesses a way more appealing ceiling. Al Horford at 5K, fine value, but with Drew back, I would imagine he loses some minutes. So not super excited to play him. And then all these other values like Peyton Watson, Aaron Wiggins, they're both small forward eligible as well. Not super excited to play them, but it is a 2-game slate. There are blowouts, guys just coming off the bench and go nuts. So, those guys, Isaiah Joe, you can consider them, keep them in your player pool and use them like a little dash of them if you want to. At center, Jokic is a god, man. 11K. This is the cheapest he's been in a while. He's still too expensive for this slate for me. Clippers going up against Zubac, not like a fun matchup. Like, it wasn't a good matchup, and he's still like consistently top 50 and 60 fantasy points. Wasn't really needed in the last game. Still at 48 fantasy points. Like, the usage rate remains good. The production is solid. He's just not like that, otherworldly god right now. And then you have a matchup with the Thunder, which is like as bad as it gets, really. He obviously was very good against them in the regular season, 70 fantasy points per game across 4 meetings. So if you want to play Jokic at like sub 30%, I don't have a problem with it. Like in tournaments, like meeting the field or going over on Jokic obviously is appealing. If he comes out and drops 90 fantasy points and they upset OKC, you're going to be way ahead of the field, and that's going to be awesome. For me, though, if I was doing a single entry, probably not playing Jokic. If I'm doing 20 lineups, I'm probably only getting to him maybe half of where the field is at. Like if I was doing a lot of lineups, I'd go a little bit more aggressively after him. But I just don't think this is the slate to play Jokic. I mean, famous last words, right? The second I tell you not to play Jokic, he's going to go absolutely, ballistic. So it's Jokic. You can play him, especially if he's not going to be owned. I just don't think it's the optimal way to go on this slate. Somebody who looks a little bit more appealing is Cat. $3,000 cheaper. We know Cat has a ceiling of 60 fantasy points. He has a solid floor. Last series, he did not really get it done consistently. He kind of deferred to Brunson. Like, look at this. It's not really good. He had a 49-point fantasy game. The rest of the time, really just under hit, man. He just didn't get done. The reality is, though, the matchup stinks for sure, but he's not that owned, and he's only 8K. So I definitely would consider going over on Cat. He's just really, really good value. That said, I do have interest in Chet. I do have interest in Aaron Gordon, and Kristaps Porzingis at 6.3K is just way too cheap. So I'm going to eat that chalk. He's coming at 48% owned. Just way too cheap. He wasn't really needed in the series against Orlando, but he's going to be needed in this series, to help stop Cat and just obviously provide more offense here in a big series against the Knicks. So Porzingis looks awesome. We'll see what happens. Like, if I'm wrong and like in the game one, he only plays like 23 minutes or something, or just really struggles, we can kind of adjust for the rest of the series. But right now, going in, 6.3 is just way too cheap. I'm going to play him. Hartenstein is okay at 5'9". I think that's decent, low mid-range value that not a lot of people are going to be on. Don't mind that, especially since they're going to need his size against Jokic. So I think that's kind of sneaky. I don't think he's a must, especially since you have Aaron Gordon, who's locked into more minutes. You have Chet, who's like only $800 more, just feels like a better play. You have Porzingis, only $400 more. So, like, how do you actually get to Hartenstein comfortably? I don't know. But Denver on the interior, not a team to be afraid of. And they do need his size. So Hartenstein is a guy I would maybe consider meeting the field at for sure, just because I think he's probably going to have a better than expected series. The rest of the value here, Mitchell Robinson, 3.7K off the bench. I don't hate that as a punt, like kind of in that Alex Caruso case on Wallace range. He's a little bit more interesting because he's not going to be owned at all. And like the range of outcomes are kind of similar. Like Mitchell Robinson does have a ceiling. He is a good per minute guy. Are we really feeling that much better about Kason Wallace and Alex Caruso than what Mitchell Robinson could potentially provide off the bench? I'm not. So I think Mitchell Robinson going over on him is something that I would definitely feel pretty comfortable doing. All right, that does it for the position breakdown. Hopefully it helps you out a little bit. Overall, I'm going to be underweight on Jokic. I'm leaning into SGA as my top stud, and then I'm going to be overweight on guys like Russ. And who's the other value I said? I guess Mitchell Robinson slightly. But in general, coming off of Alex Caruso, 76%, anytime anybody is going to dominate ownership to that degree, unless it's just like Jokic, and he's like way too cheap. You don't want to be under on Jokic when he's in a smash spot in like mega chalk, because if like 70% of the field has Jokic and he gets 90, you're done. If Jokic goes off at 26%, I think you could still survive that. And I also still think you could survive Alex Caruso pretty much no matter what he does, unless he gets like 50. If he got 50 at 76% ownership, yeah, that's a death sentence probably. So I'm just going to take the risk that Alex Caruso is not going to have the game of his life right away. All right, that does it for me. Hopefully this helps you out. If it does, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and click the link to visit our Patreon and get access to our Discord. Just $5.99 a month for everything we have to offer. Thanks for watching and good luck.